As we age, we tend to notice some changes in our skin, including a loss of brightness, sagging, loss of elasticity. And some of this change is intrinsic because it's genetic, but a lot of it is actually due to our environmental exposure, including specifically the sun. And so one of the really important things for people who want to age well is to use a good skincare routine, including protecting themselves from the sun. Hello, my name is Dr. Melissa Chang, and in this video, I am going to talk to you more about sun protection. I am a board-certified dermatologist, and I have been practicing for over 20 years, and some would say I am a little obsessed with my sun protection. And today I'm going to tell you why. I actually spend a fair amount of my day talking about sun protection with my patients. And the reason why is because it is such an important topic when it comes to skin health. And we are all exposed to the sun every day. And there are some small steps that any one of us can take that will help to vitally improve our skin health. Let's get started. First off, I would like to reference an article that I saw in Newsweek, which was quoting a study that found that 1 in 7 Americans under 35 think daily sunscreen use is more harmful than direct sun exposure. This is very concerning to me because as a dermatologist, I see skin cancer frequently, and melanoma is known to be increasing drastically. It's actually doubled in the United States in the last 30 years. Melanoma is a deadly type of skin cancer. As well, there are other sun-related skin cancers like basal cell, which is the most commonly diagnosed skin cancer in the United States, and squamous cell. So we know that there are true risks to sun exposure, but there's only questionable evidence that sunscreen can be harmful for us. Let's address the fear of sunscreen toxicity. So first know that there are 2 broad categories of sunscreen ingredients. The first category are physical ingredients, so those include zinc oxide, titanium dioxide, and iron oxide, and those are believed to be very inert. Zinc oxide is also one of the primary components in diaper paste, and so I think generally for people that have sunscreen concerns, they're not really questioning whether these physical sunscreens are safe or not. Those are safe. For chemical sunscreens, there isn't solid evidence that these are unsafe, and they are generally recognized as safe. But if you are very concerned about putting anything on your skin, then at the very least, consider the physical sunscreens as a good opportunity to protect yourself from the sun. This is a large part of the reason why I felt compelled to create this video, because there is so much misinformation out there, and I want to tell you more about the evidence of the damage that the sun definitely does cause. And then we can talk about how sun protection and sunscreen can help you protect yourself from that damage. Skin cancer is the most common form of cancer that is diagnosed in the United States, period. The most common type is called basal cell cancer, and that is one where it results in a lot of surgeries and sometimes disfigurement. But melanoma, which is not as common as basal cell, is a very deadly form of skin cancer. And the rate of melanoma, as I mentioned before, has doubled in the last 30 years. So why would you not want to protect yourself from the sun? So in my mind, sun safety is always in season, no matter what time of the year it is. Exposing your skin to the sun means exposing it to ultraviolet light. And we know that ultraviolet light causes skin cancer, but it actually also ages our skin. And so changes that you can see from the sun, if you look at someone who's in their 30s or 40s and look at the inside of the arm versus the outside of the arm, you'll see that the skin tends to be much more uniform in color, whereas on the side you get brown spots. We can notice slight changes on the neck where there are reds and browns. And then on the face, oftentimes we'll notice coarse wrinkles, yellow pebbly skin. So these are all changes that you can avoid if you protect yourself well from the sun. Let's start with ultraviolet light. So we all know that the sun emits a whole spectrum of electromagnetic radiation, and it goes from UVA, UVB, visible light. So when we see visible light, UVA light is traveling with visible light. You can see with light from the sun, that means you are being exposed to UVA light. And UVA light is present throughout the day. It constitutes about 95% of the sun's rays, and the level of UVA is relatively constant throughout the day. And the UVA rays are the rays that age us. They also travel through windows. And so you need to protect yourself from UVA rays whenever you can see visible light from the sun. UVB rays make up 5% of the UV radiation that reaches the Earth. And UVB rays are more intense. They occur around the middle of the day, and they actually cause mutation of DNA and are thought to be responsible for skin cancer. There's an easy way to remember the difference between UVA and UVB rays. Remember that UVA stands for aging, and UVB stands for burning. Just like UV rays damage our skin, they also damage our eyes. And UV rays are responsible for ultimately causing cataracts in the lens of our eye as we get older. So make sure that you're protecting your eyes with sunglasses. It's important to protect yourself from UV rays. And one of the ways to tell how strong the UV rays are is the UV index. And the UV index measures UVB rays, because remember UVA rays are kind of constant throughout the day, and UVB rays tend to slowly increase in the morning until solar noon, and then they slowly decrease. The maximum UV exposure will differ between seasons. So in the summer in Houston, for example, we typically will see extreme rates of UV exposure in the middle of the day. Today, for example, we're going to have a UV index of 10. Tomorrow it's going to be 11. If you're going outside, you're in the sun, or you're even just next to windows, you need to protect yourself from the sun. Let's talk about the different ways that we can protect ourselves. One is by staying out of the sun. 2 is by using physical protection like hats and long sleeves. But 3 is using sunscreen. And so one of the things I wanted to do was to talk a little bit about SPF and what that number means. SPF stands for sun protection factor. And you'll see this number on sunscreen bottles. Examples are SPF 15, SPF 30. So what it means is if it normally would take you 10 minutes in the sun before your skin burns, and you apply an SPF 15, you can stay in the sun 15 times longer, or 150 minutes before you would burn. And to give you another example, if you were to apply an SPF 30, you can stay in the sun 30 times longer, or 300 minutes. And remember that 10 minutes time that it takes for our skin to burn is just a theoretical number, because the time it takes for a person's skin to burn will depend on their skin color, whether they are taking any medications that make them more sensitive to the sun, and also the intensity of the sun's rays at that particular moment in time, and if there's anything that amplifies those rays. So for example, if you're at the beach or in the snow, those rays will be amplified and you will burn more quickly. So sometimes people wonder, okay, more SPF is better. If I put 100 SPF on my skin in the morning, I should be good for the whole day. The main problem with that kind of thinking is that most people do not put on enough sunscreen to achieve the SPF that is achieved when these sunscreens are tested under very controlled and strict circumstances. It's very important to put a generous amount of sunscreen on, but in addition, not to be lulled into a false sense of security because your SPF has a really high number. To reiterate this important point, to get the full protection of your SPF, you need to apply your sunscreen very generously, and you actually need to reapply it frequently. A good rule of thumb is to apply a thick layer every 2 hours. Even the highest SPF sunscreens won't protect you if they've worn away. If you're going to be in the water or sweating, there is a special consideration, which is you need a water-resistant sunscreen. And know that water-resistant sunscreens will be labeled as such, and they will also be labeled with the amount of time that they are water-resistant. Typically, it's going to be 40 or 80 minutes. So if you're going to be in the water and you have a sunscreen that is going to wear away in 40 minutes, you pretty much need to be reapplying it almost 2 times per hour. If it's 80 minutes, maybe think about reapplying it hourly. And that means if you are sweating or in the water but not wiping, as soon as you're wiping, you need to reapply. I know this is a lot of information, but to summarize, every time you see visible light from the sun, you are being exposed to UV rays, UVA rays in particular. In the middle of the day, if you're outside, you're going to be exposed to UVB rays, which are the rays that burn you and can also cause skin cancer. So it's really important to protect yourself from the sun. There's many modalities to protect yourself, and they work together. So you want to wear physical protection, you want to wear sunscreen, reapply it frequently, and watch your skin for a tan or a burn, because if your skin is doing either of those things, it's letting you know that damage is occurring. There are also some areas that are frequently forgotten when people are applying their sunscreen, and those are the eyelid skin, the ears. So be very careful, because you may think you're getting protection, but if you have a little skip area, that skin will get burned and won't be protected. It's really important to note that sunscreen is typically not enough to protect you if you're going to be outside for any length of time. And the reason why is because most people don't apply it generously enough, and as well, they don't reapply it. It is very important when you're putting on your sunscreen not to then assume that you can spend as much time as you would like to in the sun. You really need to consider sunscreen as part of a bigger program to protect yourself, which means staying indoors when possible, seeking shade, using your physical protection, and then in addition, use your sunscreen. So to summarize, UVA rays are responsible for aging of the skin. UVB rays are responsible for burning of the skin. We need to protect ourselves from both of those kinds of rays. And to do so, we're going to do physical protection and sunscreen protection. And we're going to use our sunscreen generously, and we're going to reapply it frequently. Remember, a higher SPF still needs to be reapplied. SPF measures how long the sunscreen will protect you from the sun, but it must be applied correctly and reapplied regularly to achieve that goal. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you've learned something new. I'm curious to know if you've learned anything new, what was it? And also, are there going to be any changes in behavior that result from that thing that you learned? So put a note in the comments. Also, if you have questions as a result of watching this video, put that there as well. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe so that you will be up to date with future videos. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.